take a little bit of a glance here at some things that I think are standing out through the first couple of weeks, which are really encouraging signs that happen kind of in both of these two games, where it's just not you benefiting on the back of supercharging the Steeler experience and making the stats look good from that perspective of things, but that these things kind of stand out and are very interesting for when we push this towards the future. I think especially when I look at this from the standpoint of the defense creating pressure as it stands out here at the top. And where I want to begin with that is with the pressure rate of your Seattle Seahawks. Through the first 2 weeks of the season, your Seattle Seahawks have the best pressure rate in the NFL. And this is pass defense specifically that I'm taking a look at. But we're going to look at two things off of this. I know there's a lot of numbers I'm throwing at you: sack percentage, quarterback percentage. The one we're going to look at here is the pressure rate. Now, this is a stat that I go back and forth myself on at times between how much value do I want to give it, how little value do I want to give it. It's kind of a newish stat versus the old sacks and quarterback hits, which used to be the real hallmarks of trying to judge pass rush productivity. And so this is a new one. But it is an interesting one because pressure does theoretically push a quarterback off his spot, disrupt the timing of the passing routes, short passing, all that kind of stuff. And the thing that stands out here as you look at this pressure rate, which is right here, when I sort by this, look at that. Look at that wonderful, beautiful thing. Your Seattle Seahawks in the first 2 weeks are generating a 49.4 pressure rate, which is number one in the NFL. Just over the Commanders, the Denver Broncos, the Atlanta Falcons, the Pittsburgh Steelers, who we faced. Interestingly enough, we had to face the two of the top 15 pressure rate teams in the first 2 weeks. Make of that what you will. Maybe we had bad offensive line help contribute. Maybe it's something else there. Maybe they're pretty tough on that. But this isn't what makes this stat particularly cool. There's actually an extra item to this that I want you guys to pay attention to on this that to me really makes my eyes jump out. Because you think about Mike Macdonald on the surface of this and you think about stacked boxes and okay, you're generating pressure sometimes because you're confusing pass protections. You're able to get pressure sometimes because you're overloading what they have in pass protection. You're getting a free rusher through that confusion at times. But something that would support this then would be a little bit of a look at least the blitz rate. And when we look at the blitz rate of your Seattle Seahawks, when I sort here by the teams that are at the top of the margins in this process of things. You can see the Denver Broncos, the Kansas City Chiefs, the Steelers that we just played, all these teams at over 40% in their blitz rate through the first 2 weeks of the season. But if I flip this on the dime, so let me sort then the other direction on this, and look at that. Your Seattle Seahawks are blitzing at the second fewest rate in the NFL. So the highest pressure rate on the back of the second fewest blitz rate in the NFL. Those kind of numbers really shouldn't be going together here. Those kind of numbers are kind of like, you're going to get up to the top pressure rate. When I point out and I show you a team like the Denver Broncos, for instance, the Broncos got a general philosophy of place of we're going to blitz on early downs. It's going to be starting out as a run blitz, and then it will become a pass rush over the course of a play. They have that inherently within their defense, which is always going to soup up the numbers just a little bit as far as those pressure rate numbers go. But you see only the Cincinnati Bengals at this point are blitzing less than your Seattle Seahawks at 8.7%, your Seattle Seahawks at 13%. This speaks from a Mike Macdonald perspective to his confidence in this defensive line and how they're performing up front. The fact that these guys, he knows he can trust somebody is going to get home up front on these guys. He's got the dogs to get it done. And this is allowing him now to drop all those guys into coverage and really now condense some of those passing windows down in a really major way. But I just kind of shake my head at this where you're already generating this kind of pressure with just the front four. God only knows what happens now if Mike starts to have a couple of games where he starts to want to bring out that blitz rate, because offenses are going to have to start to now slide protections. And this is where they're going to now walk into Mike Macdonald's trap. Because what happens with this is you go, oh hell, our 5 can't contain their 4 particularly well here. We've got to get some double teams on certain points. We've got to identify that prior to the snap. Now that's going to open up those pass rush lanes for those blitzers, the delayed blitzers, the inside linebackers coming a step too late post snap, that type of thing. This is where Mike will be kind of, I think, ahead of the curve on this as teams now try to probably protect themselves against this. Because if you walk in with a passing attack that you're thinking is going to be under a 50% pressure rate throughout the course of the day, you're probably not going to be terribly effective at passing the football. It speaks a little bit too to how good a job Purdy did at evading pressure and getting out of that in that first game especially, because there were moments that he he had to make some really smart, quick decisions on his feet because the pressure was bearing down. It's kind of coming from all camps here. Everybody's sort of doing their part to sort of chip in. Certainly the defensive tackles, I think, are kind of leading the way overall on this one, but everybody on that defensive line is handling business. So a really nice trend here early on in the season so far for your Seattle Seahawks. You put a ton of this investment into your defensive line. The theory would go here that you would think that you're going to be able to ride on those guys and that you're going to be lean on that front four. It also speaks to just how Mike Macdonald's defense is so able to morph into so many different directions. It's not set as one thing. It's not a cookie cutter defense. It's not is it a 3-4-4-3? Is it this? Does it want to stay in nickel or try to stay down into base? Does it want to not blitz or is it willing to blitz? As Mike has talked about and alluded to in a couple of different press conferences, this defense wants to be able to do everything. And really, as much as you're reading what that opponent does at their weakest, and you're able to do it because you're not that particular defense that's just sort of shoved into this like corridor of what you can and cannot do. And so it's going to be fun to watch this thing continue to, in my opinion, kind of, just materialize more and more as we get down the road here this season, and to see if Mike does lean back on starting to dial up a little bit of the heat. But hey, why do that, right? If you're doing good with the front four, if they're getting home, all the more reason to just keep dropping back all those numbers in coverage and letting it rip.